So I watched The Mind of Jake Paul, like all of it, which is weird because YouTube drama, not a big part of my life. But I was interested in this because it looks like we're living in a time where the entertainment of YouTube's starting to become more legit. It's a big moneymaker, there's YouTube bread. Not gonna lie, Cobra Kai might actually make it on my top 10 favorite movies of 2018. Not a movie, not even in theaters, but you know what, it's my list. But Jake Paul's a name I've seen a lot of, usually tied with drama, tied with hate, and I kind of wanted to see the other side of it, so I'm gonna talk about it. So The Mind of Jake Paul is an 8-part documentary series on Shane Dawson's channel that Shane Dawson made on YouTube, in which the last part is twice as long as any other episode, so it's kind of a 9-part series. But if we're calling it an 8-part series, what I mean is it's a 5-part series about Jake Paul and a 3-part series, which is Shane Dawson making a sales pitch of, hey, I want to make documentaries about sociopaths. And he kind of got some heat at first for it being really overly dramatic, playing the music, like the eerie music. He's talking about sociopaths. You kind of feel like they're among us.
Then they also are impulsive, so failure to plan ahead. They'll want to do things and then not do things on a whim.
Yes, they are among us. I mean, they're killing people, just sociopaths exist. And at first when he was like, is Jake Paul a sociopath? I was like, that's a good question to ask because that's kind of, you know, the burn. If someone's acting like an asshole on YouTube, there will be comments directed at them like, oh, that person's a little psychopath, or that person's a little sociopath. So I like the fact that he was addressing it, and I was like, maybe he's gonna address it to squash it. But he just kept on it. That conversation literally went for 3 parts. At a point, it was hijacking the entire conversation about Jake Paul. It was all completely hypothetical and over-dramatized. I just felt like it was the wrong foot to start out on. I can't really add anything to the conversation because a lot of people have said that. But really in part 4, they sit down with one of Jake Paul's former friends and colleagues, Nick Crompton. I'm not really down on Team 10. I just wanted to see a documentary series. Now that I've dedicated 9 hours to it, I'm gonna talk about it here. I'm gonna call him Nick because I'm terrible at last names. Anyhow, Shane asks Nick, he's like, is Jake Paul a sociopath? He's like, no, I've seen him be touched and hurt over things. So right there, I was like, all right, so the last 3 hours of this thing are completely obsolete. I don't even know why it happened or was kept at that point. Like when you're filming a documentary series, you're gonna run into stuff that you film, and then later on you find out that information is just not really relevant anymore, so it ends up on the cutting room floor. Why didn't the first 3 hours of this thing end up on the cutting room floor? I don't know. And really, they have this therapist who's on YouTube. Her name's Katie. Bad with last names. I'm gonna call her Katie because we're cool like that. I've never met her. She doesn't even know who I am. But she's the one that Shane Dawson's talking to, and Shane Dawson's like, is Jake Paul a sociopath? Ooh, dramatic music. And when they're actually at Jake Paul's place, she's undercover, she's a therapist, but they don't tell him he's a therapist, but she's analyzing him, which really wasn't necessary. I mean, just talking with the guy, you're like, it seems pretty normal. And then at the very end, gonna jump ahead for a second, the very end, the last episode, it's like an hour and 40 minutes of Jake Paul. There are no walls anymore. He's just being real. Things are really affecting him. He looks sad when he's talking. It looks like he's about to cry.
Erica had like come into my life to like teach me how to like love and trust again, and yeah, it's been a lot to deal with.
I was just thinking, if you wanted a part in this series to have a therapist, if you're looking for the opportune moment, that was it. But at that point, Shane Dawson's really giving him advice, and I feel like a therapist, it would have been good to have one in the room. Maybe they had one in the room, but they just weren't on camera. The whole thing, like if I could describe this series in a nutshell, it's like Cribs meets Dr. Phil. As I say, and I think a lot of people are gonna say, the series really kind of starts out in episode 4. Episode 3 is not a complete watch because it talks about the family and Greg Paul. You can't talk about the product of the children without talking about the family and the upbringing. And really at that point, that's when I started to feel for Jake Paul. I was like, oh, that sucks. A huge takeaway I had from this was the large and grand, also empty side to YouTube fame. When they're talking to Nick, it's in this one house and it has a pool with Hollywood over it. It literally says Hollywood over the pool in this mansion. Then when they're talking to Jake Paul's ex, it's like the exact same house, but I guess it's not the exact same house. I don't know if it's the same architect, designer, or the same house. Point is, when you're watching it, you really feel like this is their life. This studio space is exactly like that studio space, only it looks like a mansion, it looks like a living space, but really it's studio space. And they really don't have a place to call their own. It just feels empty as fuck. You have a lot of roommates and a big house, but really it's all one big business arrangement. Fuck that. I don't know. I mean, the big house would be neat and all, but I'd be there for a bit and then I'd be like, all right, I'm out. And really, you see Jake Paul's house. He has a lot of friends living there. They're all living there for free, essentially. He just seems like he's a big man child. Like he wants to create his little bubble of happiness where all his friends hang out. Like, can you blame him? Not like the world's nice out there. It's not like he gets a lot of love online. Why wouldn't he create a little fortress that's essentially his happy place? Really kind of looks like to me, Jake Paul is young. And as he's young, he's done stupid shit. But people are supposed to be allowed to be young and dumb so they can grow and be better people. Only thing is he was young and dumb on YouTube with a huge following. So really that shit's gonna follow him for a very long time, if not forever. Like a lot of YouTube personalities who've been doing this for a while, they've said or done some shit they're not proud of. I mean, if I'm using my own experience when I was starting out my YouTube channel, you look at my old channel, the jokes in there were really dark, really edgelord shit. That's what I wanted to be. I wanted to be the edgelord that cracked jokes that made people knuckle up like, oh, I can't believe you said that. As a result of that mindset mixed with ignorance on this channel, I've done some jokes that went too far. A couple in particular I look back on and I'm like, if I could undo that, I would. I am definitely not proud of that. But there are no time machines. All you can do with your past and those moments in your past that you're not proud of is learn from your past to grow in your present so you can be better in the future. So that's what I try to do. And I bring this up because I feel like that's what Jake Paul wants to do. So I kind of empathize with him there. But it's so easy to throw hate at someone for something he did that's on camera on his channel. Even if that is in the past, it's easy to deal with it as if it happened yesterday. Like Jake Paul didn't like school, didn't like his teachers. There's one scenario where he's talking about that. Now I see what he's trying to say. The public school system could definitely use some refining. It teaches a certain kind of person to learn a certain kind of way. A lot of other people, they struggle, myself included. So in his Jake Paul way, he addresses that in a music video. He makes like a diss track. So he puts it in a song and now it's out there. Like imagine you have a certain mindset about a certain something. Let's say it's school, let's say it's teachers. So you talk to someone about that, you phrase it a certain way, then later your mindset changes on it, or maybe you refine your thoughts. So the next person you talk about it a different way. But in Jake Paul's case, the person he talked to was a camera and now it's a music video. It's a song with lyrics. It's now written in video stone. So later on when his mindset changes, or now that his mindset has changed, people can and will be like, no, that's your mindset because it's there in the video. You said that. So it's hard for a public personality that deals with video to change their mind about something. People always deal with present YouTube person, how their video of the past presents them, even though people are always constantly changing and evolving. I just empathize with that. I do. And I feel like it might be a self-sustaining ball of energy of circular reasoning at that point. Someone does something, they get hate, you give them hate, you treat them like an animal, they're going to act like an animal, they're going to do more shit that gets them hate, and it just goes around and around and around. Which is why I'm glad Shane Dawson made this documentary series, because this is essentially the way anyone would sit down and be like, all right, let's hear his side of it. I mean, what if Jake Paul made a video about Jake Paul? I wouldn't give a shit. I'd never watch it. The big takeaway I hope people would have from this whole thing is you just reflect on how easy it is to fall into that wheel of hate. Like someone or a collective of people, we've already collectively made up our minds to hate someone, so we're gonna hate them forever. But really, they do have their story. Here's the mind-bending thing. Most people, big or small, people who are largely collectively hated, or maybe someone you dislike at a personal level, they can have a documentary or interview made about them that's made to show their side of it that will make the people who hate them go, oh, I didn't think about that. I kind of get it. I kind of see where they're coming from. Maybe you don't like it, but you'll at least know why they came to that conclusion. The funny thing is you don't need a documentary to do that. I just hope going forward in life, people are more receptive to that concept. Like if someone just says something or tweets something that irritates you, just enrages you, maybe you don't retweet it to get your mob going after them. Maybe talk to them, be like, hey, what'd you mean by that? What's your side of it? Let's be more interested in having a conversation rather than just raging out on people. Because really, outrage is outrage. It doesn't help anyone. It doesn't help anyone become better anyway. Just talking does. And I feel like humanity as a whole, collectively, we will be better in the future if our goal is to have conversations rather than just burn people to the ground. And I'm not making excuses for everything Jake Paul has done. In fact, I don't even know everything Jake Paul's done. People watching this probably know more about his controversies than I know. I just know what I saw in this video. And what I saw in this video is someone who at least wants to grow up, if not at least make an attempt to move past it. Because in the end, I enjoyed the mind of Jake Paul. If for nothing else, I really like the fact that Shane Dawson forced the world, or at least people on YouTube, to take a look at the other side, to take a look at the side of someone who's generally, he gets a lot of hate on YouTube. But what's his side of it? Interestingly enough, people generally don't take that beat and take that step to take the effort to look at the perspective of someone they're essentially made to hate. But with this documentary series, like we have to. And he does show a lot of sides of it. There's a lot of YouTube drama, a lot of he said, she said, which, hey, that's the way of 2018. A lot of it I don't know much about because, like I said, not really down with YouTube drama. I just wanted to know more about a person. It was entertaining first and foremost. I suppose that's what you want from something like this. It was also informative in terms of perspective, seeing Jake Paul's side of it. That side of it being a side that a lot of people were like, I don't care, for a long time. But I do think the sociopath thing was the wrong foot to start out on. If you're gonna bring it up briefly. Like you don't have to linger on it for too long. Maybe bring it up, then talk to his friend who's like, no, he's not. And you just move on and talk about other stuff. Not have the sociopath thing hijack the ride for 3 hours. Shane Dawson uses background music to create a tone to elicit a response and perspective, as documentaries do. But that seems to be the nature of the filmmaker. Shane Dawson comes across as he's a very dramatic person. Even the teasers and coming next time, even those are kind of clickbaity and dramatic. Implies that there's hidden cameras Jake Paul didn't know about. There isn't. Implies there's gonna be this controversy. There's not. Even the trailer to the whole thing shows Shane Dawson all like,
what are you worried about the most?
And he's gonna be mad when he finds out what this series is actually about.
What you mean when he finds out that you've painted him in a very accessible and relatable light? Yeah, I'm sure he's gonna be really pissed. I was really interested in the family dynamic, the living dynamic, the business dynamic of it all. It's on Shane Dawson's channel. I'll put a link below to the first episode and then a link under that to the 4th episode. However you want to start it out. It was an interesting look at perspective. I've heard a lot of hate, even in my comments section, about Jake Paul. I don't even talk about the guy, but it's been there. And it's usually Logan Paul's bad, but Jake Paul's worse. I don't know, just maybe he's just another one of us, another one of me, another one of you, just another person trying to figure it all out. Making mistakes and trip ups along the way, but hopefully by the end of this ride, we figure it out, or at least a part of it. If Shane Dawson wants to do a documentary series on sociopaths or psychology or something like that, I'd actually be interested in checking that out. I just hope he learns from this documentary series as to what to do and what not to do, and maybe things that he could improve on later. If the first part of this was a test run for that, I guess that's what test runs are for. All right, so The Mind of Jake Paul. Have you seen it? What did you think about it? Whatever you thought, comment below, let me know. And as always, if you like what you've seen here and you want to see more, click right here to see more.